Hello, flamingos, and welcome to Disrupting Obesity. I'm Charlotte Skanes, and I lost over 200 pounds without surgery, without fads, and without hating myself through the process. I'm here to help you unlearn what the diet industry has been feeding you and to talk about what it actually takes to lose weight and keep it off. I want to help you make real mindset shifts and start to build trust with yourself again, all while giving you the tools that you'll need to do it, but without losing yourself or your mind in the process. It might be Monday, but we're not starting over. So brace yourself, Gladys, and let's get into it. Welcome to episode 106. And believe it or not, this is our 6th episode in the 101 Weight Loss Truth series. Today, we are kicking things back up with number 50. Which is an all-time favorite of mine. I mean, I like them all, but I really like this one. Number 50 is spread, sprinkle, pour. If you've been with me for even a little bit, this is a phrase you've probably heard me use time and time again. I've done entire episodes just on spread, sprinkle, pour, because it's kind of a big concept for me. So the deal with this one, and if you have a copy of the guide, this is... I think it's the 3rd or 4th one, and I call it low-hanging fruit in the guide, just because people weren't really aware of spread, sprinkle, pour when I started putting that out. The whole thing with spread, sprinkle, pour, and the reason it's the low-hanging fruit is because I really feel like it's the easiest way in. It is the fastest, most accessible way to start making small incremental changes to what you're eating, to start lowering your calories little bits at a time. Spread, sprinkle, pour is absolutely where you want to start. It's where I tell everybody that they should start because, well, like kind of everything with me, it doesn't actually matter what you're eating. We all eat different foods. We all gain and lose weight eating different foods. That part of it doesn't matter. But there are things that are universal, and we universally spread, sprinkle, or pour. Those are the foods that we're adding to other foods. They're usually not the main star of the dish, or at least they probably shouldn't be. So we're talking about things like butter, mayonnaise, the cheese you sprinkle on a pizza, the almonds that you sprinkle into your salad, the salad dressing that you pour, spread, sprinkle, pour. Now, those are all examples, pretty real examples, except for the almonds. I'm not an almond person, but I would prefer to sprinkle bacon bits on a salad. That's more my jam. Or sunflower seeds. Those are pretty nice. But you see what I'm saying? Whatever you like to sprinkle on your salads, just cut it back just a little bit. Incrementally. The other thing about spread, sprinkle, pour that makes it the low-hanging fruit is that these items tend to be calorie dense. So peanut butter, regular butter, mayonnaise, salad dressing, bacon, but all of this stuff, cheese, is supremely calorie dense. So making even a small change can lead up to a big difference. We're going to use mayonnaise as an example because it's one from my real life and the numbers are easy, so we're just going to roll on it. A tablespoon of mayonnaise is 100 calories. Let's say that you're like me and on your average sandwich, you put on like 6 tablespoons of mayonnaise, which is kind of where I was at when I was over 300 pounds. Okay, cool. You're using 6 tablespoons of mayonnaise. Rock on. What would the sandwich be like if I only used 5.5 tablespoons of mayonnaise? Am I actually going to notice the half tablespoon that's gone? Probably not, but I am going to save myself 50 calories. If I rinse and repeat that action over the course of my day, and I do it using other things that are just as calorie dense or even slightly less calorie dense than mayonnaise, I can hit my 500 calorie deficit a lot easier than, for example, just saying, you know what, I'm never going to use mayonnaise again. Which, okay, I'm going to save 600 calories on my sandwich, but I'm not going to be happy with my sandwich and I'm going to go find something else to eat because I didn't emotionally satisfy myself. So really, I should have just used less mayonnaise and enjoyed the sandwich kind of how I like it. I mean, it's not going to be exactly the same, but it's going to be close. Maybe you use 5 tablespoons. Maybe you use 4.5. The point is that you start cutting it down slowly so you don't really notice. Because, and I'm not judging anybody out there who's using 6 tablespoons of mayonnaise on a sandwich, I have learned about myself that's too much. I don't actually need that much. I was in a place in my life where I thought I did, and I used to enjoy my sandwiches like that. I probably still use more mayonnaise than most people, but I'm not using it like I used to, and I'm not taking down 600 calories worth of mayo on a single sandwich. Like, I was seriously confused, and I would tell people all the time, I don't understand how I'm so big when I eat so little. 600 calories of mayonnaise on a sandwich, that's kind of how. But I didn't know, first of all, that I was using 6 tablespoons. I was just putting mayonnaise on a sandwich. And two, I had no idea that there were 100 calories in a tablespoon of mayonnaise. And even if I did, I wouldn't have understood how to translate that to what it was doing. I didn't understand how many calories my body needed. I didn't understand how many calories, frankly, were in any of the food that I was eating until I started looking into this. And that's where I found things like spread, sprinkle, pour. We want to find the easiest things to cut so that you're in the headspace that you can keep going. Losing a lot of weight is incredibly hard. That's truth number one. This is hard. So you want to make it as easy on yourself as you possibly can. Spread, sprinkle, pour is one of the ways to make this as easy as yourself on you as you possibly can. The other big thing that I like about it is it evolves with you. Everything in this life is relative, especially weight loss. So some of you will have just heard me say 6 tablespoons worth of mayonnaise and gone, oh my God, that's insane. Some of you will have heard me say 6 tablespoons of mayonnaise and gone, oh my God, good for you. That's incredible. I'm at 15. So it's all relative. As you lose weight, you're going to have fewer calories to play with. That's how TDE works, right? This is the thermodynamics part. It's the math part. It sucks, but here we are. As you lose weight, you're going to have fewer and fewer calories to play with. Fine. You're going to have to keep making incremental cuts. So if you can learn the skill set for spread, sprinkle, pour when you have the most calories you're ever going to have to play with, you're going to be able to take that skill set and continue to use it as the number of calories that you have keep decreasing. Because that's a super shitty part of weight loss that I don't hear a lot of people talking about. But the number of calories you have today is the most you're going to have. So let's celebrate that fact, because as your body gets smaller, as your BMR lowers and your TDEE lowers, you're going to have fewer calories. So enjoy them. And I know it feels like, well, I'm not having as many calories as I want. No, I get that, but this is still the most that you're going to have. So let's celebrate the most that we have today. And let's use things like spread, sprinkle, pour to help make it easier. One thing I probably should tell you, if this is a newer concept for you, or if this is something that you just missed, I did a full hour and a bit long webinar where I just dealt with spread, sprinkle, pour. I also developed worksheets to help you implement it. The webinar is free. It's always going to be free. The sheets are free too. You don't have to pay for them. So I'll make sure that the link to that goes into the show notes so that you can grab your copy if you want it. And the download's unlimited. Like you can just, if you want to print it off 6 times, you can. It's yours once you download it. It's a really simple sheet. I tested a whole bunch of different ones, and I found that the simpler, the better, the easier it was to implement. So it's pretty basic. It's pretty stripped down, but it's something that anybody can use just to kind of get them started with this one. Once you've got spread, sprinkle, pour kind of figured out, you're feeling confident, you got your feet under you with it, we're going to take a look at number 51. Control your vehicles. Okay, so we've dealt with the low-hanging fruit. The next step is the vehicle. That's the food that you use to get the food that you really want to eat into your mouth. It's the bread on your BLT. It's the tortilla to your taco. It's the vehicle. It's the food that holds the food that you actually want to eat. A lot of times, those vehicles tend to be very calorie dense. They're higher sometimes in calories than what you put in or on the vehicle. And it doesn't just have to be conventional stuff like bread or tortillas or hard taco shells or buns, whatever you're using as a delivery system. I used to use carrots and cucumbers, for example, as a vehicle for dip. I didn't want to eat the vegetables. I wanted to eat the dip. So the baby carrot, was just a vehicle to get that dip up to my mouth because I couldn't bring myself to sit there and eat it with a spoon. I somehow was able to draw the line there. But if I could eat the spoon, it was just fine. Pizza crust is like that for me too. It's just a vehicle for meat and cheese. So if you can control the vehicle, and part of this is mindset too, right? It's looking at the food you're eating and going, what part of this am I actually enjoying? Is there something here that I could swap out and still get the satisfaction that I need from this so that emotionally I'm feeling solid, but I'm not killing myself with the calories? I'm not cutting off my nose to spite my face and making this infinitely harder on myself than it needs to be. For those of you who follow me on Instagram, you'll know I have a thing for hard taco shells. I break them in half. They're 50 calories each. You break them in half. Now you get 25 calories, and it's 2 open-faced sandwiches. Perfect vehicle. Doesn't get soggy, works out really well. You may have seen my breakfast burrito hack, where I love breakfast burritos and I really like the McDonald's ones. But I'm not going to eat all of that tortilla. So much of it is just, I'm also a diabetic, so I really have to kind of watch my sugar. So I'll pick off all the extra tortilla that I don't want to eat because it's just flour and water and I don't need it. I'd rather have more of the eggs and the sausage and the cheese and less of the bread that's getting it into my mouth. That's what I mean when I say control your vehicles. And you also need to make yourself very aware of what your vehicles are. Are you using carrots as a vehicle for dip? Or, oh gosh, I don't know, fruit as a vehicle for whipped cream or peanut butter or chocolate sauce? What do your vehicles look like? And they're not all going to be as obvious as you might think. But if you can learn to control the vehicles at the same time that you're figuring out and incrementally using less of your spread, sprinkle, pours, you're going to make this whole journey so much easier on yourself. Number 52. And oh my God, does this one get me into so much trouble? But I'm not wrong. And I'm really not saying anything that revolutionary. It just triggers people and pisses them off. Number 52 is that food can be healthy without being helpful. There's a big difference. And I know so much of the whole weight loss influencing scene right now is all about single ingredient foods and whole foods and, organic foods and making sure that, I don't know, your food wore a purity ring, whatever. Here's the thing though. The reality is very, very healthy foods can also be very, very calorie dense foods. And just because something is good for you and every influencer out there is touting it as the next great thing, that's fine. It might not actually help you on your weight loss journey. I know a lot of people who are obsessed with avocado, and avocado is terrific. It is super healthy. Couldn't be better for you. Here's the thing. It's basically fat, right? So it's also very calorie dense. And it's not the only one. There are a lot of foods in that category. If we could just go back for a second, hit the rewind, and talk about how everything is relative. The foods you like are relative. They might change. What works for one person on their weight loss journey isn't going to work for the next person on their weight loss journey. If you don't like food and you're choking it down just because it's healthy, what the hell are you doing? How is that helpful? And oh, Gladys, please. Okay, I just heard I don't know, 1,000 Gladyses pick up their keyboards all at once. I understand the value of choking down healthy food. I understand the nutrient component of all of this. I do. I have a certification in nutrition sciences. I understand. I got it. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is when someone who has been battling their weight for a while forces themselves to eat healthy foods that they don't enjoy, there's a time limit on that. You're going to max it out. And then you're going to get super desperate and you're going to end up eating a whole bunch of other stuff that Gladys definitely wouldn't approve of. Eat the food you like. If you love avocado, make it work. Whatever calorie dense foods you like, make it work. That's what I'm all about. But I want you to be very aware of the fact that just because something has been labeled as healthy or labeled as low fat or diet or whatever health washing we've put on the packaging, that doesn't mean it's going to help you lose weight. And I think 9 out of 10 Gladyses would agree with me here because they all are in the whole, it's like the opposite of the sweetener thing, right? They believe that sweeteners are profoundly unhealthy, but they're very, very helpful for weight loss. So it's just, I guess, the opposite side of that coin because there are very, very healthy foods that are definitely not helpful on a weight loss journey. Great for nutrition, not so great when you're watching your calories. I think two people need to be aware of this one because there can be a mentality that takes over that just because something is quote unquote healthy, it's also low calorie. And that's really what I'm pushing back against. It's the assumption that if it comes from the produce department or if something is labeled whole grains, that it automatically has a lower calorie count than another food that's available. And that's just not true. So you need to do your research and you need to be looking at packaging, looking at things to understand what's in them. And I mean, really at this point, you can take a picture of produce in the grocery store and there's an app that will tell you how many calories are in that food just by looking at it. Google photos think, oh, that's an apple. Apples have dot, dot, dot numbers of calories per. So you can access that information very readily. And I think that'll make it easier too. There's not a barrier to the information anymore. But there is a massive misconception that just because food is healthy, it's automatically low cal. No, not true. Number 53 is number 53 for a reason. And flamingos know I've got my weird numbers thing. And 53 is a big one for me. My program's 53 weeks. It's an important number. Anyway, number 53 is the 3A way. This is another one that I have done whole episodes about. I think more than one, and I've probably done episodes on each one of the 3A's. I think it's probably the most important principle that I teach because you can use it for basically anything. The 3A way is awareness, acknowledgement, and accountability. First A is awareness because you can't change what you can't see. And like I said at the top of this one, I would actively tell people that I just didn't understand how I was so big when I ate so little. It's because I didn't have any awareness. It's because I wasn't aware of what I was actually eating. I wasn't aware of what, the calories or the fat count or any of that stuff with the food. I had no awareness of that. I had very low body awareness. I was in denial about my size. It took things like getting winded, tying my shoes to kind of help me wake up and go, oh my God, this is actually maybe a little bit worse than I thought. And you'd think at 5'2" and 338 pounds, I would know that it was bad, but no, not really. I don't think I did. Not all the time. It took me a while to get there. So awareness is super important. You have to be aware of what you're doing. Then there's the acknowledgement piece, because it's not enough to just see something. You have to acknowledge that it's happening, or what you end up doing is going, oh my God, things are completely out of control. My eating is out of control. My weight is out of control. And then you turn around, you bury your head in the sand, and you promptly do everything that you can to try and forget the realization that you just had. Not helpful, because now we're back at square one, and we've turned our backs completely on awareness by refusing to acknowledge it. So the acknowledgement bit of all of this kind of tends to get overlooked, and people just like to jump right over to the third step, which is accountability. This is the part where you have to do something about it. I was going to say that it's the least fun of the three, but I'm really not sure, because awareness can just feel like a wet fish to the face. And acknowledgement, that means facing your guilt and your shame and openly admitting to yourself at least what you're doing. And then the accountability, the doing part, that feels like it's going to be the hardest. But I really think for some people, the first two A's are even harder. But accountability is the plan part. That's where you decide you're going to do something about it, and then you figure out what you're going to do and you actually execute. So if we take something like spread, sprinkle, pour, for example, the first step there, let's just be really, really concrete about this, at least to start. The first thing you have to do there is you need to be aware of what you're doing. It's all well and good for you to say, I'm going to use less mayonnaise. Okay, great. Less than what? Well, less than I'm using now. Okay, cool. How much are you using now? Well, I don't know. The jar says it's 200 or it's 100 calories, a tablespoon. I figure I use a lot. So probably 200 calories worth. Okay. But is it 200 calories worth? Because you're not going to know until you actually measure it out and make yourself aware of what you're doing. You're not going to know. And please believe me when I tell you I understand how terrifying that is. I am the girl who found out she was pouring 1.5 cups of salad dressing onto a salad. Okay. That's a lot. That's 24 tablespoons, and the Thousand Islands I was using, I think, was about 120 calories a tablespoon, and I was using 24 tablespoons of it. So I'm just going to let that sit with you for a bit. Awareness sucks. Awareness can really, really suck. But unless I knew how much I was using, and I just decided I was going to start guesstimating, if I'd gone from 1.5 cups of salad dressing to 2 tablespoons, like the bottle recommends, That ship is sunk before it's even left the harbor. Like, it's done. I wouldn't have enjoyed the salad. I would have felt completely deprived. And yes, sure, I would have been patting myself on the back for doing such a good job and only eating 2 tablespoons of salad. But then 4 hours later, when I'm rooting in the cupboard for cookies and potato chips and whatever I can get my hands on, I'd have been far better off having more salad dressing. Okay, so we're aware now. It's 24 tablespoons of salad dressing. Right on. Fine. We've acknowledged it. I wrote it down on my handy little worksheet that I got on my download. Thousand Islands, 24 tablespoons. How many calories is it? Holy shit. Okay, cool. But now I know. And next time I can come at it from curiosity, and instead of going, oh, you're horrible. What kind of a person uses 24 tablespoons of salad dressing? Who does that? And the beating up and the guilt and the shame, that's not going to help me with my salad dressing problem. What's going to help me with my salad dressing problem is being accountable, actually having a plan for this shit. And my plan is I'm going to cut it back incrementally. I don't use 24 tablespoons of salad dressing anymore. But I also didn't go from 24 tablespoons to 2 or even to 8. You cut it back a little bit at a time. Because the point of the curiosity thing is you ask yourself, am I going to notice? I wonder what it would be like. I wonder what it would be like if today I used 22 tablespoons instead of 24 and I saved myself 240 calories. I wonder if I'll notice. I wonder. And you can leave the door open. Well, you know what? If it sucks, I'll just put them in. I'll just put them in. But I'm going to try it. I'm going to try it first. That's accountability. And then I look at my sheet and I'm like, you know what? Okay, I've mapped it out here. I'm going to have my salad tomorrow. And tomorrow, if today goes okay, maybe I'll try 21. We're not always going to move at that great of a clip. Obviously, 24 tablespoons of anything in a single sitting is a lot. And that's not average. And that's not where most people are. But even if we're being, let's more reasonable, because it's relative. If we're being more reasonable here, what if we said 8? Okay, our starting point is 8. You're using 8 tablespoons of salad dressing. That's about a half a cup. That's not unheard of. It really isn't. That's probably a lot of people. Cool. We're using 8. We're going to try 7.5. We're going to sit with it. We're going to let it hang. We're going to have a couple salads like that. Then we'll slide down to 7. Let it hang, see how it goes. And depending on how we felt about the half tablespoon jump before, maybe the next jump will be a full tablespoon. Maybe after 2 weeks of salads with 6 tablespoons, you're like, you know what? Forget this half tablespoon thing. I'm dropping to 5. Right on. Let's give it a go. Small incremental changes. That's a big part of accountability. We can apply the 3A way to situations too. Let's say you're going on a road trip. Right on. You know it's coming, but you're a little bit afraid because when you think back on the road trips that you've had before, awareness, you realize, yeah, I do kind of have a tendency to stop at the gas station and just buy whatever I can get my hands on. And yeah, we do hit the drive-through a whole bunch. And I've said before that I'll bring stuff, but it doesn't really pan out. So, you're nervous and you don't trust yourself to do a good job this time around, even though you're on a new path and you're trying to do things differently. Cool. Accountability. It's all right. It's scary, but instead of just blindly throwing ourselves into this vacation, into this road trip, into this holiday, whatever, we're going to have a plan. We're going to have a plan. We've made ourselves aware that there's an issue. We've acknowledged there's an issue, and now we're going to do something about it. What are we going to do? Well, because of your awareness, you know where you tend to fall down on these things. So maybe this time we pack a cooler. We put some safety nets in place that instead of stopping at fast food restaurants, we're only going to stop at grocery stores and get something ready to eat from the deli counter where they have the salads, where they have the pre-cut vegetables, where they have better choices if you want to make them so that you're not stuck with calorie dense, high calorie options only. And so that you're not dealing with the mindset end of it of feeling guilty and feeling like, oh, I'm ruining my vacation because I'm not eating the way I want to. And all of that negative self-talk that can come along with all of this. With the mental ones like this example, the accountability part in a lot of ways is the awareness and the acknowledgement. It's having the courage to look really hard at yourself and go, okay, where have I fallen down before? What parts of this am I not good at? where could I do better? What sort of systems could I put in place for myself to make sure that I don't start self-sabotaging myself and falling into those old patterns once I get out of my routine, once I get out of this little safe bubble that I've built for myself where I eat at home and everything's carefully controlled and I feel very safe. How can I replicate that when I'm out in the world? Sometimes the accountability is the awareness and the acknowledgement. And in this example, it really is. But it's also doing something. It's actively taking that, okay, I fall down because I only eat fast food because I don't have other options. Well, let's get some of those other options on the table. Let's get a cooler in the car. Let's find some non-perishables that you can take with you. Let's bring some Smart Pop. Let's bring extra water. Let's actually plan out more rest stops because you're going to be drinking more water. So you're going to have to pee more often. And normally when you travel, the last thing you want to do is have to stop. Well, maybe we're going to have to give that a go. There are lots of ways that you can come at this. They're all going to start with awareness. And so many of the issues that you encounter, if you break them down using the 3A way, you're going to find it a lot easier to push through. No matter where you are on your weight loss journey and no matter how much weight you have to lose, the 3A way, those three things, awareness, acknowledgement, and accountability, are going to help you to get through this and to get to your goal. Next week, we're going to pick up where we're leaving off today. We're going to be back with number 54. It's really closely connected to number 55, so I want to keep them together. So I will see you back here next Monday. Hello, flamingos, and welcome to Disrupting Obesity. I'm Charlotte Skanes, and I lost over 200 pounds without surgery, without fads, and without hating myself through the process. I'm here to help you unlearn what the diet industry has been feeding you and to talk about what it actually takes to lose weight and keep it off. I want to help you make real mindset shifts and start to build trust with yourself again, all while giving you the tools that you'll need to do it, but without losing yourself or your mind in the process. It might be Monday, but we're not starting over. So brace yourself, Gladys, and let's get into it.